So it's clear that we are watching the fall of the American empire in real time. And there is a stark difference in the way that the white community is responding and how the black community is responding. The black community en masse has completely withdrawn. They fought, they campaigned, they warned us, and we chose the orange man anyway. And they're out. The white community, on the other hand, is fighting, those of us who aren't under Trump's spell. And there is this real sentiment that if we can just get Trump out of the way, then we can all get back to normal. But the thing is, that's not what God is doing. And I'm not a nihilist, but we're missing the point. The point is this white supremacist system has wreaked enough havoc. Enough. And God is judging it. And the fact that we are clinging so hard to it makes me wonder, what does the black community see that we don't, that's allowing them to totally let go right now?
He said, why is the black community completely withdrawn? What do we see that they don't see? No, y'all see it. You refuse to acknowledge what's right in front of you. If you know anything about America and American history, black history is American history because we are Americans, and it is very much a part of what made America what it was. So separating it is just insane. So know all the history, how y'all even set this up. I try not to curse in my videos. It's systematic. And the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results. We done it already. Y'all learned how to put together marches and stuff off of what we did. And we're done. You fix it.
We see you. We see you. And this man is right. The entire time, the black community, we have been working in this country, trying to make this place a better place to live. We have been warning you. We've warned you many times that if you did not course correct, we would all end up right here in this position right now. And you've ignored the warning. You ignored the warning because in this America, you're still winning. That's why this European American man talks about wanting things to go back to normal. Going back to normal is not good for my people. And we see you wish for something that still causes our community harm.
I'm sure y'all saw that video of that Caucasian man getting up here and saying, what are black people seeing that we're not seeing? Obviously the truth, but I think what you really should focus on, you and your community over there, why do you have such a distrust for black folk information? Because historically and present, we don't really have a lot of motivation to not be honest when it comes to the whims and the swirls, the ups and downs, the glows and grows of the world. Unpack that first. And then maybe bust some of that trust fund down that y'all be having. Or ask the questions. Some of y'all be saying not all of y'all, but y'all don't even know y'all family history. Look into that just to see. Because if you have a farm in the South that has been in your family for 5 generations, I know something. Check the basement.
Inevitable is happening. The thing we as black people have known all along about this administration in power, how our rights were being infringed on, how the country would spiral, how women's bodies would be controlled, how education would be gutted, and how the rich would get richer and the poor would get poorer. Because the only difference between this...
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure. But the question does present itself immediately, like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like, clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
There are aspects of his personality which are obviously not good, and that we've mostly just chosen to overlook. You know, he's not a moral man. He's obviously not the greatest husband in the world. You know, cost of American lives isn't the motivator. It's just that Trump has moved on to other things because he has the attention span of a gnat.
And what American is this helping? Besides the industrial war complex, I just don't know. I don't understand. So yeah, that's what our president's up to, and it's fucking baffling.
Isn't you had a change in morality or a different point of view. You're just now impacted. And what a spineless way to live. You say to yourself, I'm okay if marginalized groups are impacted as long as my positioning as a white person is unchanged in this country. We knew. So when you ask,
what does the black community see that we don't, that's allowing them to totally let go.
We saw you. We saw our parents and grandparents fight for their rights as humans. We saw how at every turn, the only thing people in America, white American men, and those white American women who feed into racism and the patriarchy want is capitalistic system where black people don't benefit, women stay in their place, the masses remain uneducated, and America stays white. So yes, we knew. MAGA voters are speaking out against Trump. Farmers are watching crops rot because of tariffs, federal workers losing jobs they thought were safe, veterans seeing benefits get cut. But none of this is shocking because the policy didn't change. Their proximity to it did. This pattern is as old as oppression itself. If we go back to the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, poor white and black farmers were in the same economic boats, exploited by the same landowners, crushed by the same debt systems. They actually started organizing together. The populist movement was building real cross-racial working class power, but the planter class got panicked. They did not want poor people joining up against wealthy people. So they did what ruling classes always do. They offered poor white farmers something black farmers couldn't have: social status, the feeling of being above somebody. Jim Crow wasn't just about hate. It was a political strategy to break solidarity before it became a threat, and it worked. Poor white Southerners voted against their own economic interests for generations, even until today, because they were giving the psychological wage of whiteness instead of actual wages. Fast forward to the New Deal, FDR's programs of Social Security, labor protections, the right to organize were genuinely transformative. But to get Southern Democrats on board, they excluded the jobs black people were most likely to hold. Domestic workers, agricultural laborers, left out by design. White workers built generational wealth on those programs. Black workers were locked out altogether. So when someone says the government used to work for regular people, it did. Just not all of them, and just not all of us. And these are the same sentiments of MAGA today. Ida B. Wells warned us. She said, a country willing to use terror against black people had already proven it would use terror as a tool, period. The weapon doesn't retire once it's done with one group. MLK said in a Birmingham jail, he wasn't just frustrated with the segregationists, he was frustrated with the white moderates who thought they could stay comfortable while injustice ran its course. Injustice doesn't run its course. Frederick Douglass understood that freedom, if it wasn't protected for everyone, was just a loan. One thing we know about loans is that loans get called in. But in this country, if we have built and defended the political infrastructure to protect minority rights when black communities were screaming that these systems were dangerous, everyone would have protections right now and rights today. Now we're watching tariffs gut the same farming communities that cheered trade wars aimed at protecting them. Federal jobs disappearing from the same towns that voted to shrink government because the cuts were supposed to hit someone else. The tools they're using on immigrants, on black voters, and now the white working class Americans, those same tools are now pointed somewhere new. You cannot outsource your freedom to someone else's oppression and expect to stay free. The only way any of us stay protected is if the system is built to protect all of us. America is in a very precarious place. And if we just believe black people, if we just granted black people equal protections and rights and freedoms under the law without the need for us to be in this centuries-long fight, then maybe, just maybe, we all would have adequate protections and not fall into a despot running our country dry while enriching his helm of billionaires. You ask black people, what did we see that you didn't see? We saw our story and our history. Stay black. Stay blessed.
What did black people see that everyone else missed? That anti-blackness is a permanent, fundamental feature of every single modern society. People don't believe that they are voting against their own interests because in their mind, they are voting towards their own moral interests. And when their moral interest is rooted in anti-blackness, that is where you find what we have going on in this country. Black people watched non-white groups for decades reject progressive policy because having progressive policy and having everyone benefited is attributed to the anti-black morality that they have in their mind. The concept that these things would benefit people who are lazy, people who are violent, people who are uneducated, people who are not useful to society. When they think of those traits, they think of black people. But when you poll in these southern states and you campaign on these progressive policies, they love it. They love it because it's going to benefit them, someone they find worthy of the help, and not someone they don't find worthy of the help, that being black people. That's why you commonly hear terms like welfare queen. Let's be so serious. When you think of a welfare queen, you're not thinking of an Asian person. You're not thinking of a white person. You're not thinking of anyone else but a black person. This is how voting works. People look at themselves and the related people around them as a group, and everyone else as obviously not in that group. And so when they go into these voting polls, they go, what do I deserve and what does the person next to me deserve? And if they do not feel like the person next to them meets their moral standing of someone who is worthy of help, they will simply vote against the help, even if the help will benefit them as well. True reason they are not for these types of social safety nets is not because they don't actually work within the economy, but it's because it is attributed to blackness. Blackness is laziness, poverty, violence, hypersexuality. The traits that we hate in society have been closely related to blackness in some way, shape, or form. We all know that progressive policy that benefits the black community is going to benefit the entire country, but people don't care about that. They care about keeping people who are below them, because they genuinely believe that the people who are below them deserve to be there because they have done some kind of moral wrong. Because these attributes are attributed to morality, when these people vote, they don't realize that they're voting against black people. They don't realize that they're voting against themselves. They think they're voting to benefit their own group, the moral group.
I can't speak for the entire black community, but I can speak with a surety for those whom I am connected with, both friends and family alike. And it's real simple. The United States has bad credit when it comes to us. If you went out to get a car and they denied you because your history of payment is sketchy, it's because you have bad credit. If you went to get a house and you could not get the loan because your history of payment is sketchy, it's because you have bad credit. Black people are tired because the United States has bad credit with us. For the years that we have been paying into this country, its return on our investment is shoddy. So we're tired.
Do you know that it's very noticeable that the black people are withdrawn from everything unless somebody from the divine nine comes and tells them they should be mad and shaking their fist? Do you know the things that are going on around us are really going on around us? And the white people is now saying, why is the black people not alert? Y'all just was doing everything for voting season. Yes, because that's what they do. They rile them up around voting season. Now we don't need you. And y'all sit down. But white people, y'all be abreast. If you look at Twitter, it's all types of stuff going on Twitter that we ain't even talking about on here. This probably going to be the topic. You ain't about to get no help from
white people are trying to figure out how and why black people have collectively withdrawn from this country, essentially.
Black people know things white people don't. Before I go on, you can check my video notes for the references I used to create this video. Generations of white Americans were raised with a story that made us feel like heroes. We learned about abolitionists, not about the banks that provided insurance on enslaved people. We learned about the civil rights movement, but not about the white mobs who terrorized black families for trying to move into a better neighborhood. Systemic racism didn't just hurt black people, although they were the ones that took most of it, but it also misinformed white people, and that pisses me off. It trained us to see unfairness and injustice as progress. That's why when black folks talk about redlining, medical racism, or why certain laws hit their communities so much harder, many white people are just confused, or worse, and probably more commonly, they're defensive. It's not just ignorance, it's conditioning. The system made sure we didn't see the whole picture, because once we did, we might start asking too many questions. White people need to hear the truth from people who live it. But that takes a toll on black people They've had to survive what we've only begun to learn about. And it's not fair to put that burden on them. That's why I study, listen, and talk to other white folks. It's not about guilt, and it's not about blame. It's about repair. Black people already know this history. White people need to know it too, because it's our history. It's our history too. Silence keeps the system working in the way that is unjust. Don't be afraid. You should be mad about what was kept from you on purpose. Now you have the opportunity to learn about it and start organizing your life differently. I am not an expert, but I love learning. You can put my username into your search engine. Scroll down if you want to help me out. You guys are the greatest. Get curious.
So it's clear that we are watching the fall of the American empire in real time. And there is a stark difference in the way that the white community is responding and how the black community is responding. The black community en masse has completely withdrawn.
And it's clear to me that a lot of y'all have never been in a toxic relationship. And unfortunately, I have. But let me tell you how this goes. In a toxic relationship, you usually have one person who isn't shit, right? It's usually the man. And the man is, emotionally abusive. He is a cheater. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. He gaslights. He's narcissistic. But he also has a lot of potential, right? He also can be very loving. He also promises things to come in the future, right? He also can be very exciting at times. And those things keep the woman around. But when things are bad, shit goes up, right? Windows get broken, cars get scratched up, TVs get shattered, broken glass everywhere. Just a lot of chaos in these situations at times, right? And this goes on. These ebbs and flows, these ups and downs go on for years sometimes. But at some point, the abused party in his relationship just completely wakes up and decides that he or she is over it, right? And when that happens, there is no blow up. There is no broken windows. There is no shattered windshields. There is no scratched up cars. There's just calm, right? There's folded clothes. There's neatly packed possessions. And that person decides to go on about their business. And that's where black people are with this country at this point, right? Like, we're just sick of y'all shit. And we're not going to protest. We're not rioting. We're not doing none of that shit. You know what I mean? Most of us are just simply withdrawing, going on about our business and surviving like we know how to, like we have always done since this country, since before this country was founded.
Baby, we gave it to God. We can't do nothing about it. We tried to show up. We tried to vote for the right person, or who seemed to be the better person. You know, the person who had the degrees, no felonies, no nothing. The person that was qualified for the position. We showed up. We did our part. It wasn't enough. And baby, after that, we gave it to God. One thing about the black community, we gonna give it to God. Because what? God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. Amen. We know that God's plan is better for us. Jeremiah 29:11. For he know the plans he has for us, plans to prosper us and give us hope and a future. So we just trust what God is doing. We know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. Amen. And that's why we chilling. We chilling.
Sounds like you summed it up pretty good, because you chose this anyway. Now you're wondering why black people are withdrawn? You've been fighting. The fighting has never stopped before us. We've always lived through this atrocity. It's only now that everybody gets to feel the fucking pain. Everybody gets to feel the fucking pain.
I'll tell you exactly what the black community knows. We know that this is all a bunch of BS to keep us down. There is a system that was put into place to keep us down for generations and generations and generations. The difference is now white people are now starting to become conscious to what's been happening because now it affects them. The reason why we don't have free healthcare is because of racism. Hear me out on it. The idea that black people and brown people, you know, just people of color, right, can have free healthcare pisses people off. They don't want that. The reason why we have to pay for colleges now is because black people were starting to get into colleges. It was never meant for us. The reason why the education system is so crappy is because it was meant to keep black people down. But now white people are starting to be affected by it as well. Black people, the black community, was meant to be poor in America. Guess what? Now you're starting to realize that it's affecting the working class white population as well. Because let's really talk about it. Y'all weren't mad when y'all found out about the Epstein files. Y'all weren't mad when these ICE agents were running around all these different states snatching up little kids. Y'all weren't mad when people were getting deported. Y'all weren't mad when legal citizens were getting run up on by ICE members. Y'all weren't mad about none of that. Y'all weren't mad when black and brown people were dying. But y'all did start to become upset when white people started to be affected. Y'all weren't mad when y'all found out that girls, young girls, who are being kidnapped by ICE were becoming pregnant and being shipped off somewhere. That didn't piss y'all off. The government cutting funding from education systems, that wasn't pissing you off neither. You want to know what pissed y'all off? High gas prices. That's what y'all mad about. Oh, we're being taxed too much. That's what y'all care about. And this is what black people have known for a very long time. That's why we're taking a back seat. We letting it rock now. Go fight your own battles. We've been fighting for generations and generations. And guess what? Y'all didn't give a damn. Because as long as it does not affect the white community, you do not care. Now you're realizing that your choices have consequences and you are not exempt from said consequences.
We see that it's not our responsibility to tear down white supremacy as an ideology and a system. It's white people's responsibility, since their ancestors were the ones that created it and implemented it as a system of oppression. Pretty simple.
It's actually really simple. The reason why you don't understand why the black community is responding the way the black community is responding is because this system has always benefited you. So of course you're going to fight to keep it going. The system has never benefited us. It has never helped us in any way. So we don't give a fuck about it burning. We actually been waiting on it to burn. We needed to burn faster. Okay, we needed, what is it? Oh, that's water. But anyways, we needed to go faster. Like, our ancestors been needed this system to be kaput. But white people are so afraid of actually having to do the work, that they're holding on to this bullshit, white supremacy, tooth and nail. Like, we don't want it. We don't even want to participate anymore. So if it's gonna be saved, y'all are gonna have to do it, and it don't look like that's gonna happen.